Hey guys, it's Goldie Junior Plus back to add on more to your day. Now you know that I like doing these prediction videos. I've been doing them a lot recently, especially during bowl season. Is when I did the Georgia Alabama prediction. That was championship part of the season, but still, you know what I mean. Late in the season, I predicted Georgia to beat Alabama. Got that one wrong. Then I predicted Florida State to lose to Georgia. Got that one right. And I predicted the two playoff games, which I got one wrong, one right. So I'm 2-2, and this is the final game to decide if I'm able to leave the my predictions this season with a winning record. It's Washington against Michigan. Finally, we get to see a number 2 versus number 1 team in the playoffs. You don't see this much, especially in the last couple years since Georgia's been winning national championships. But yeah, this one's gonna be fun. Michigan is the current favorite by 5. So it's a big favorite, but it's also not anything. It's not really a huge upset either if Washington wins this one. I'm gonna go over both teams and then kind of compare them and then choose who I think is gonna win. First, to start with number 2 Washington. In their last 5 games, they've defeated teams like Oregon State, Utah, Texas, and Oregon, putting up 30 in 3 of the 4 games I mentioned. But also in the last 5 games, all of them have been by 1 score. Washington has not been blowing out recently, which I don't think is a huge issue, especially because no one really expects that from their defense to really be shutting down teams. But also, maybe against teams like Washington State University, you want to be getting more of a blowout win. But all that matters is that they actually won those games. They beat Oregon twice, which is really hard to do, especially when it's in a game like the Pac-12 championship game. It is very hard to beat a team in that scenario twice. Washington managed to do that and book their ticket to the college football playoffs. Speaking of the college football playoffs, they defeated Texas, which is a huge win. Texas were the favorites, and that was their second loss of the season. The only other team they lost to was Oklahoma in the Red River rivalry game, which both those teams will be moving to, the SEC now. But that's not the main point. The main point is that Washington managed to defeat Texas in the Sugar Bowl. I predicted them to win 38-31, and I got it almost right. Washington won 37-31 and continued their undefeated streak. Now, it sucks for Texas. Of course, Adonai Mitchell, the former Georgia Bulldog, was on their team, as well as, Archie Manning. So, it kind of sucks for them to lose because I like Adonai Mitchell. Manning's a pretty popular player. And Texas, as I said earlier, were the favorites. Washington managed to pull out the victory. Now, 2 players I want to call out here are Michael Penix and Rome Odunze. Both amazing players who have top 10 potential in the draft. Who do I think has a higher chance to be drafted top 10 is really hard to say because I feel like both of them are top 3 in their positions. It's hard to tell this early in the NFL season what teams are going to be in the market for a QB. Well, outside the top 5, because obviously May and Williams are both going in the top 3, most likely. We don't know if Penix is going to be drafted after that. From Dunze, the reason I don't know if he's going to be top 10 is because there's so much competition between Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison, and Keon Coleman, and heck, even other players like Emeka Egbuka. Even I don't believe he'll be top 10 is a possibility. Just like we didn't think Drake London was going to be a first top 10 pick for the Falcons, but it ended up being like that anyway. But, yeah, these players are amazing. One of the best QB receiver duos in college football. They're definitely in the top 3, if not the best. And I honestly would not get mad at you at all if you said they're the best duo. I think, is it crazy if they are the best duo? I don't think there's really much competition. Because, the only competition is like the Bo Nix and the other guy, which I can't remember the name of. Keon Coleman and Jordan Travis, of course, Florida State fans are going to try to say they're better, but Florida State fans are pretty much never right. So let's ignore them. But Washington's passing attack is the best in the country. And I will not take anyone saying anything otherwise. Because the other 2 best passing attacks in the league were Texas and Oregon. Guess who won those games? The Washington Huskies. So I am very high on them offensively. Defensively, they could use some work, but I don't think they're a bad defense. I don't think they're too much of a one-sided football team. It's just that when you think of Washington, you think of their high-scoring offense and not their stout defense, per se. But final thoughts on Washington. Great QB. Great way to beat Texas and Oregon back to back is not easy. But they're not the only team to beat two great teams back to back. Well, Iowa, not great. But still, the top five of being Penn State and then Maryland. Ohio State, Iowa, and Alabama is not an easy trek for Michigan. But they managed to go on there unscathed. As a matter of fact, being two of those teams by more than one score, Penn State and Iowa. The Ohio State game was, I feel like, closer than it should have been. I feel like Michigan's just a way better team than Ohio State. But whenever that game is happening, you can never say it's going to be blowout. And because most times you say it, you're going to end up being wrong because these teams have had an interesting rivalry recently. But Michigan's beat them 3 years in a row. Beating your rival 3 years in a row is never easy. And I want to emphasize that's whatever John Harbaugh's doing or whatever he's telling his players when they go against Ohio State is working because they beat them 3 years in a row. After Ohio State was crushing them normally. And also, John Harbaugh, while Washington hasn't made it to the playoffs for a while before they made it to the championship in this season, Michigan's been in the playoffs before. They know this mentality. They made it 3 years in a row now. First time they lost to Georgia in a blowout game. Second time, lost to TCU in a thriller, and now defeated Alabama in an amazing game. So, Michigan knows what they're doing in the playoffs, but finally they get to the national championship to prove their worth against Washington. Well, JJ McCarthy is no Michael Penix. He's a great system QB, and he even makes plays on his legs, but that's not really what he's known for at all. I guess we can check out his stats. He's all right. All things said. I wonder if we can see his running stats, maybe. Well, yeah, he doesn't really run much. He ran a few times against Penn State, but some of those might have been kneels or something. But what I am going to say is that Blake Corum might crush Washington's run defense. That might be a huge mismatch, and I'm a little bit afraid of for Washington. And then Roman Wilson's been a pretty decent receiver. That's a lot of yards per reception. 45 for 735, over 15 yards per reception. Not level of Rome Odunze, but barely anybody's on that level. So don't be very surprised if Roman Wilson gets a few catches in this game. Anything else to say about Michigan? Well, I guess they cheated. That's kind of one of the main things you're thinking about, is that if Michigan wins this, it could very easily and very likely be stripped by the NCAA because they don't like cheaters. No sports committees like cheaters, and especially at the college level, this is a scandal to say the least. So if Michigan wins this, it may just be meaningless. Alright, there's two more things I want to mention. Before we get to the official prediction, I will say that the college football game release day, it's like EA College Football or something like that. The release day will be released during the national championship game, maybe at halftime or something. But I'm very excited for that. College football is one of the best sports. It's definitely my second favorite sport right now, currently, only behind the NFL. So I'm very excited for this. I'm very excited to see when it's coming out. Make sure you stay tuned, and even if if you don't care about college football, but you like the college football games, you might want to check out the game just to see when the game comes out. Next, I want to compare the teams head to head. Now, we know Michigan is a pretty decent offense, but they are a defense-first team. When you think of Michigan, you think of their tough defense that they have week in, week out. Not only in the line of scrimmage, but also the front seven as a whole and the secondary. But when you think of Washington, you think of two players. You think of Michael Penix, and you think of Rome Odunze. And I like the Michigan secondary, but Odunze is going to get open. I'm telling you right now. He's not Marvin Harrison, but Odunze is a player that it doesn't matter who you put on him. He's going to get open at least a few times. And if he's open, Michael Penix is going to find him and throw a dart. But I do think there's a good chance that Washington struggles early against Michigan, which is why I'm predicting this to be at least a close game. Coaching, honestly, it's obviously John Harbaugh, who has the advantage here. Even though he was suspended, missed a couple of opportunities with his team, I think they still know him well, and he still knows them well. And they did really well against Alabama. So I think they'll be fine in that regard. And it's like Dylan Johnson may be injured a little bit, so that could even be harming Washington. But without further ado, without further ado, my official prediction is Washington 31, Michigan 27. Now, main reason I'm picking Washington over Michigan is because Michigan has not played an offense like Washington all season. Best offense he's winning against is probably Alabama, and the difference between Washington's offense and Alabama's offense is huge. I think they're going to be a tad bit unprepared. Maybe they played a team like Texas before this game. Maybe it would have been a little bit more prepared. Like if it was Texas, Michigan, then they won, moved on to Washington. Maybe they're a little more prepared. But if not, won against somebody like Michael Penix or Roma Dunze. So I think that might... Oh, I guess Marvin Harrison, but McCord wouldn't throw it to him much. But another reason I'm picking Washington is because I feel like Michigan is going to struggle to score 30. But I don't think Washington is going to struggle as much to score 30. Now, I do think Michigan's defense is better than Washington's defense. But I think the gap between the battle between Washington's offense and Michigan's defense is really tight. But I think Washington's defense is good enough to be able to shut down Michigan a few times, which will give their offense enough opportunities to put up a lot of points. But really, in a national championship, you can never really predict who's going to win, unless it's Georgia versus TCU. Then you know who's going to win. But that's not going to happen again, is it? But yeah, that's my prediction. Do you guys agree, disagree, whatever? Make sure to check out my other channel, Cody Jr., where I do more gaming related. About to do the offseason later today of my Patriots franchise. It'll be very exciting. I have the second pick. But see you guys later. Adios.